countdown, Joe.
Well, we gotta get you
around the world.
It's coming.
It's
All
LHS.
right. We are live, launched live on a beautiful Wednesday morning. Here we all are. Welcome. It is Wednesday. How great to be here with all of you. To those of you this is your first daily success call, welcome to the low-hanging system. These calls are all about the mindset. So these are not the how-to calls, how to upload the products, how to get my system integrated. These are the person behind the business. This is where we kind of develop the right mindset to help us move forward and become the leaders that we want to be. And we join here every day at this time. We have a lot of familiar faces here today. Liana, great to see you. Love to catch up and hear how things are going with you. Crystal, great to see you. Joe, welcome. Kelly's not here today, I see, or not yet. Maybe she's coming. Patrick, great to see you. Michael, Claire, and Randall, welcome. Christine, Gloria, Malalika. Hi, Scott. Wow, I haven't seen you in a while, Scott. Chukwameka, of course, and Justin's here. Great to see you. Jamie. Hi, Roxana. Great to see you here. Gail's here. Fantastic. Cynthia's here. Elizabeth, Madame Sarcastic. Oh, we have to go. Sorry for that. Here we go. Now we're on the right view. And yeah, so lots of students are here with us today. That's a great way to just open and say hello. And we've been having these wonderful, our dearest John Lavinia is out on vacation. Of course, we wish him the best of times because he deserves it. You know, he puts in so much effort and time. And so we definitely want him to enjoy. And so we've kind of been building throughout the week with these different ideas, starting from wisdom that we've explored. And then yesterday we talked about our core values, which was really awesome to hear from each and every one of you and get that kind of view. And so if these are the things that fuel us, our core values, the wisdom that we're gaining in our past to kind of move forward, how do we move forward? And what is one of the things that tends to kind of hold people back or prevent people from doing their best that they can do? And this is kind of a sensitive topic that oftentimes will come up, and it's procrastination. So all of those that it hits close to home, you're like, oh, I know that one. I know that one well. And speaking of our wonderful John, he always says, done is better than perfect. Because we have to really, before we get into this idea of procrastination, let's understand first why we procrastinate. And for those who are not familiar with the term, it's kind of like what prevents us from moving forward. What are we thinking? These thoughts in our mind that kind of hold us back from completing a task, from getting things done. And so there's a language to that. And if we all are pretty honest with ourselves, and why not be, we can sit and center ourselves and ponder why. Why am I procrastinating? What is the fear or the hesitant? What's making us hesitant from moving forward and getting the task done? So is it fear of failure? Is it you being a perfectionist and thinking that it might not look exactly like you want it to be? Maybe it's indecision. You just don't want to make that decision. Like, I just don't want to, that's happened to me sometimes. Like, okay, I don't want to make this decision right now. Okay, can we just do it tomorrow, or later when my mind is a little clearer. So if we're really honest with ourselves and we find that space where we can get very personal with ourselves, look inside and see why. What is the reason that we're procrastinating? Why, what's holding us back? And why are we not able to perform this task? So that would be, step number one of kind of overcoming this procrastination. First of all, understanding it. And it's like everything in life. We first have to see it. We first have to know, what's going on so that we can choose to move beyond it and to move past it. And then I want to give you some really great tools that many authors, there are many, many books written, and I've mentioned some before. Actually, one of them is based off of this famous Mark Twain quote, and I don't know if I'm going to say it exact, but he talks about eating a frog. I will say I'm vegetarian, so I'm not encouraging the death of any frogs here, but he's using that as an analogy, of course. So, you eat the frog first thing in the morning. and then there won't be anything as horrible that could happen to you for the rest of your day, something along that line, you know? So like you get the biggest thing done first. There's even a good book that I could probably put in the chat, Eat That Frog, I think it's called, by Brian, I forget his full name, but I'll put it in the chat after I'm done with the opening. And he talks about these things as well. So it's, what are the steps that we can take in order to overcome this procrastination, or this, it's really like inhibition. We're preventing us from moving forward. Something is holding us back, and it's us, it's ourselves in our mind, and we're not able to complete the task. So when we understand it, and then we set our priorities, this is why I really felt like it was a great continuation to, after we realized our core values and what, you know, where is our wisdom and what we have as a fortitude to push us forward. Now, how do we do it? How do we start making this, this list? This is one of the recommendations, of course, make a list. Make a list of what you want to get done that day, and then tackle the first two things. So it's based on this, you know, the 80-20 Pareto, right? So he talks about, even if we look in our closet, Michael, you were talking about clothes, right? In the beginning, the idea is that we're only using 20% of whatever we own. So you're not bad off for winter. You're showing you don't have clothes. So, you know, we only use 20% of our closet. That's kind of how this goes. And this idea goes into everything in life. And so also to our list making. So, one way to conquer procrastination, I'll be really clear here because I think my thoughts were traveling a little bit, but be really clear. You make a list. First of all, you identify what's going on, what's preventing you from moving forward. Then you make a list. And this list, okay, this list can have a tendency of being miles long, okay? So now I see the chat's going in with the taste. Okay, I'll let that be for now. So this list that you're making, we can have a tendency of overloading the list. Okay, we can overload the list. Oh, now I'm making a list and I'm being responsible, so let's just put everything on there. And I don't recommend that. Okay, that can be, you know, you can be you're putting things that are destined to happen in 3 months' time, and then the list is so long you don't even know what's going on. So, or how to start. So make the list short and to the point, realizing that this 80-20 engagement will work for you on this list as well. So there's gonna be on this list about, you know, if you make it a list of 10 things, then I procrastinate making lists, she says, Patricia. You'll have to talk about that with us in just a little bit. Okay, being very focused now. As you make this list, so let's say it has 10 things, 2 of them will be the most important things. And those are your frogs. Those are the ones that you tackle right at the beginning. Get the first ones that you don't want to do, the ones that you know that they are the most important, that you really, really have to get done, get them done first. And then the list looks like a breeze. So let's relate that back to our business, okay? So, you know, if we have, we'll keep it easier or more simple. If we have 20 mugs to upload today, and we also need to do a few tasks on Amazon, and maybe we have to go shopping and maybe buy us a sweater because it's getting a little colder, then let's get those mugs uploaded first. So get those done. You've done your 20. You're going to feel so great at the end of the day. It's going to be like, oh, maybe I didn't buy my sweater today. I can buy it tomorrow. That's not a problem. I can buy it tomorrow. But I got my 20 mugs uploaded today and I feel great about it. And so you tackle the ones that really matter most. So in this instance, these are the things that will generate income for your business. Of course, for those who are just getting started, then opening accounts and getting all of that set up, of course, that is prioritized at this point. And definitely if you are just watching the videos, then that's where you are at. But we have students here that have been with us for quite a while, so I'm addressing those kinds of tasks as well. So that would be that 80-20 kind of idea on your list. So this establishes our priorities. This really gets us focused on what we're going to do. And really conquering procrastination is about really setting successful goals. So not goals that you're going to feel like they're dragging you down and you know, it's too hard to complete. Goals that you know you're going to tackle, you're going to complete. So that's an important thing to acknowledge here. Another important thing about conquering procrastination is also our attitude. So this is what our calls focus on a lot. This is what we talk about here. How are we approaching our list now that we've made it? Okay, Patricia, you stop procrastinating about your list. How are you approaching this list now that you've made it? Are you approaching it with defeat, with this kind of, now this list again? Like, really, do I need to do this? Do I need to do that? Or do we have this optimistic, positive attitude? And are we able to bring that into our time management, our tasking, our to-do list, right? We can give it that title. So there are all these techniques of how we can kick this habit, because it is a habit. Procrastination is a habit, and we can get pretty comfortable with that. We can get really accustomed to just kind of letting time pass by and letting things kind of slip away and say, okay, we'll do it later. We'll do it later. You know, we have our deadline. So how many of you kind of hit that deadline and you're like, it's the night before and you need to get things done. And it's like, okay, this is the last possible minute. I'm going to do it now. So we know ourselves in that tendency. We know what we tend to do and how we tend to approach things. So managing that in the beginning, premeditated, like you've planned this out and you know what your day is going to look like. Remember, we already set our core values and we kind of looked at how our day is going to be set up. Now we can really put it on a schedule, and we can even give it a time frame. So for instance, if our frogs are to be addressed in the morning and we rise, you know, some of you I know are very early risers, 5 and 3 even, but let's say we rise at 7 and we do our morning routine, and let's say we're ready to go by 9 or maybe even by 8:30, can we accomplish those assignments right at the beginning of our day? Then we're fueling the day to really feel successful and feel good about what we've been wanting to do. And oftentimes I think that we kind of get in our heads about how much we want to achieve. Like, how much are we going? Oh, I got all of these things done today. But maybe we neglected the ones that matter most. So even the suggestion is to prioritize less. So don't put so many things on your plate. Don't load up the day with things that you know that are just you're going to feel like you're drowning in so many assignments. Be gentle with yourself and, you know, set yourself up for success. Really set yourself up for success from the planning. So you don't have to load up this list and be like, oh, I remembered all the things. Or you can even make a couple lists. You can say, this is my urgent list. This is my next day list. This is my monthly, you know, whatever it is, so that you don't forget. That's okay. Because, you know, sometimes we have these memory things that things pop up and we just need to tackle them. So we can write it down and then stay focused and achieve the things that we want to achieve. I love the hands going up really, really quickly. I'm going to let you speak in just a moment. I kind of want to bring it all together and just say a couple last words. And so when we have our to-do list and we already acknowledge from the get-go that we're going to tackle those 20% or those most important things first, and we're going to acknowledge our success, a great tool to keep that motivation going on is to then journal or write down, or even in your mind, journaling is always recommended, to say all the things that you completed. You know, it's funny because now with our phones, right, we can put a list with a checkbox and we can click on it and it draws a line. How many people, list making people, that drawing the line on the thing that you completed gives you a sense of like, oh, just feeling so great about yourself, right? There's a chemical reaction that happens when we draw that line over something that we've completed. It's like, oh, great, you know, I did it. And so there is, if we acknowledge that, if we realize that at the beginning and we know that that's how we act, giving ourselves that praise, giving ourselves that acknowledgement for the things that we completed, for what we've done and we've done well. And then knowing that, okay, tomorrow's a new day. If there are things on my list, that 80% maybe that I didn't tackle, they're going to move for tomorrow, and that's okay. And now that I've done my 2 major things for the day, and I can prioritize these next 8 things, remember our list had 10 things, then okay, now I'm going to get all of those things done. Maybe some things add on to our list and we can sort it all out. I love these numbers that are going in. People are saying 5 is a good number. Yeah. And I just did 10 because it's that It's easy to go for the 2080 when we're kind of detailing that, but you can definitely, some people recommend no more than seven on a day's list. So this is something that you can evaluate for yourself as well. This is part of the self-observation. You're observing your tendencies and how you react when you are trying to complete a task. So this is wonderful food for thought, because the more that we can see ourselves and we can acknowledge how we interact with the world, how we complete assignments, the more we can move ourselves forward in a positive way. Like we become our own cheerleader. Oh, great. Michael, I see that you did so great on these 2 tasks. Let's see you now tomorrow, go out and buy yourself some things because you deserve it. You got all these things done. And now you deserve a nice new coat or a good sweater that sits nicely. And, those kinds of things. So, it really matters the tone in our mind and the setup to conquer this habit of procrastination. And maybe some of you, this is where I want to open the discussion. Maybe some of you do not have this syndrome, right? Procrastination. Maybe you all just, you think about something, you get it done and it's done and that's it. And you don't have to think about it. Great. Share that with the group and share how you do it. For those of you who have, we've lived a long life. So I want to definitely hear your wisdom on the subject and share your journey in that. What are some of the tips that you do throughout your day to complete your tasks and get things done? Let's hear from Michael, and then I'll find that title of the book and the author, and I'll put it in the chat as Michael is sharing.
Hello. One of the things I learned a long time ago from my dad is like the consummate salesman. He said, only pick 3 things you want to get accomplished that day. Like the night before, you pick the top 3 things you want to do for the next day. And as you do them, check them off or cross them out or whatever. And if life gets too busy and you can't do those 3, no big deal. You just take the ones that you didn't do and then move it to the next day. And you keep doing that so that you have a sense of accomplishment. And there's only 3 things on the list. And also, like you were saying earlier, putting the tough one at the top, because once that's done, and John said this too, once you do the tough thing, the rest of the day just breezes by, And yes, I have eaten frogs on several occasions. They all taste like mud. And I'm like, yeah, the texture is like chicken. Doesn't matter how you cook them, fry them, saute them. They all taste like, ugh. Okay. It's like you just took some swamp mud and went, let me just smear that on there. They're not tasty. I would not recommend eating frogs. That's for sure. So if that's the worst your day can be, you're doing not too bad.
Nice. I like that, Michael.
Make it in small chunks, like three things to do. And again, they can be anything. They don't always have to be business. Sometimes people get like maybe laundry or dishes really are the thing they want to procrastinate. Get it done like right away. It's out of the way. You got the rest of the day. Once you got your 3 things done, hey, put 3 more things if you want. But at least you have that choice rather than this big daunting thing on your chest or your back going, oh, it's weighing me down. You feel really good with a sense of accomplishment.
Isn't it? There's that huge sense of accomplishment. It's like, oh, we did it. Do you have that sense of accomplishment when you scratch something out of your list?
Yeah. And what's funny, because I went to one of our local stores. We have something called Dollarama, which is probably like, dollar store, whatever where everyone else is. And I specifically bought a pad that has lines, and the end of each line has a little square. So you can check off whatever. And of course it has the date. So every day I'm on these calls, I'm putting my, the date and what I want to accomplish, and also my notes for each day. So I can go back and go, oh, this is something I got to do. And I check it off for the next day or that day. So it does help.
It's satisfying.
I do procrastinate a little bit sometimes, but sometimes that's life, right? You got to accept yourself for some of the things that you do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. As long as we can see it and make this conscious decision that is in our highest growth, in our highest, for our evolution, for our benefit is the word I'm looking for. Because if we know that we're doing these things because we want to feel better, or we want to get things accomplished, or we want to generate income for our family, then as we check these boxes off and we feel great about ourselves, it's like we're really building ourselves up. We're giving ourselves these little pats on the back. It used to be when everyone wants the attention and that kind of acknowledgement. Oh, wow, great job. well done. You did a wonderful job. And we know this from little kids when we talk to them, how they light up. They just light up. Their face is like, oh, yay, or even just a smile and acknowledgement. If we can give ourselves that, how do we feel from the inside, right? That makes us feel so much better, so much lighter, so much brighter. And then, of course, when we go off and share that with others, then that's, outstanding. So thank you, Michael. I like I think it would be so hard for me to make a list with just 3 things, but definitely I agree with tackling 3 things a day. Cause I'll go say, okay, at least get these things done and get it, but my list, man.
Well, hey, you can always add more, but in those sections of 3, you can always prioritize, top,
Right.
middle, and lower kind of thing,
Right.
something,
And I've definitely made it a point not to load it up with all the things and like, no more, never, I used to do that years and years back. It was like, oh, just put all the things down. No, because then it's like, you look at the list and you're like, I don't want to see you, go away. I don't want to do anything that's on that list.
Stressing, just making a list.
Right. All right, Scott, wonderful to see you after so long. We haven't heard from you, haven't seen you here.
Yeah, well, it's been a busy time of the year for me, and
Okay.
a lot of complications too. But talking about those lists and what I do, I'm kind of like, I've been accused of being this multitasker a lot, and I can watch 3 screens at one time and take in data and understand what I'm seeing, and somebody else will look at me like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm looking at stuff, but what I've been doing lately is I've been working like on a mini mission statements. It started out with the big mission statement, which is, was that real big thing when we all got into this. And then I've been needling it down further and further to that area where you're saying how to make that accomplishment and then pat yourself on the back. And that when you put those things in front of you that are more achievable and doable on a daily basis, well, it makes you feel good for the next day. The way I end my day is pretty much I look at what I accomplished for the day, and I guess that's my checkoff list, because then I'm really proud of everything I did and I feel really comfortable when I go to bed. And if I leave something on the table, oh my gosh, it's hard for me to sleep. So I just know that's my mechanisms of how I work, but taking it down to those accomplishable things that I can accomplish every day, like, how many mugs I want to make, or how many, even in the learning processes and all that, and dividing up the balances of all this stuff is an accomplishment of itself, so that's been fun. That's about it. That's what I wanted to share, what I do.
No, that's beautiful. And thank you for sharing your journey. And I think that that's the beauty of coming together as a community and sharing, how we all navigate this low-hanging system, this new business that we've all signed up for, and really acknowledging that there are different ways to approach it and how each way can be beneficial. So, you're tackling these assignments and getting things done. And that is a grand feeling. So thank you for sharing that, Scott. Always great to see you. Patricia. Great to see you here on the call. I've missed you as well.
Hello. Hi. I am so happy to be back. I have not been in one of these calls since Tuesday. Yeah. And it's just really brought me down. I was like, I can't understand why I'm depressed. And this was yesterday. Aww. And my husband said, well, is there something? We had to go drive 2 hours to a doctor yesterday. And so I missed it for that. And we had a tree fall in the yard. That's why I look like Kai today, because I've been out cutting this tree, and the whole huge tree missed my house by this much. God was watching me. I mean, that's all I can say. But anyway, I feel as though y'all are my extended family. And because of that, this hour every day, John says that we should meditate. And Karen, you have talked about meditation. This is my hour of meditation. I don't sit there and just, my brain will not let me do that. I've tried. But coming on here and hearing all the different thoughts that everybody has, and because we all are thinking on the same subject, but it's such different ideas, and it's great. And like Randall said a second ago, something about you support your
Brainstorming?
biggest goal. Yeah. And I thought that was a great idea. So I'm going to put that down. But so anyway, thank y'all for this, because this hour calms me down and helps me relax and think of what all I got to do. And yes, I used to procrastinate making my list because I hate making lists. And then I realized that my brain doesn't function as well as it used to. So I have to make lists now. So my way of making lists is I have my emergency. This is, I put across the top, emergency, which means that they must get done today, if at all possible. And then the next below it, and I get my top 3 to 5 biggest things that I've got to do. Sometimes there's only one, and that's great. It makes me feel better. The next one is called my kick-ass list. That's below the emergency list. So anything that I can scratch off my kick-ass list, I can say, no, I kicked ass 3 times today. Yay, you know? And so that makes me feel good about myself, that I have done something extra that I have been putting off and and these are the ones that you put off forever, like going and cleaning out the garage, you know, junk like that you just hate to do. That's my kick-ass list, you know. And so anyway, that's how I do mine. And I'm trying to learn, thanks to everyone in this group, one, not to put myself down, because, and I didn't realize I was doing that, but I guess I was thinking that because of all the things that happened. But 2, to pat myself on the back sometimes of things that I've done, you know. And so I'm just really excited about every day coming in. And this is the best class we've had in a while. I think I love all of them, but this one is, of all of my, what do you call it? Things that I'm not so good at doing, my flaws, I guess you could say, procrastination is my biggest one, and it always has been. So I have tried, and I've listened to so many people of what to do to stop procrastinating. And I'm getting better and better and better. And I'm not near about as bad as I used to be. But the list thing, I do have to do that now. And I have a wall. Someday I'm going to show you on my wall. It's got little pieces of paper stuck everywhere, and I've got it divided into sections. But one of them is my procrastination wall. And those are the things that go on my kick-ass list. So anyway, thank y'all for me, my meditation hour, and my family. And that's all I have to say. Thanks.
We love you, Patricia. We've missed you. We've definitely felt your absence,
I missed
for sure.
you too.
So, yeah, definitely glad to have you back, and so happy to hear that tree missed your house. That would have been a disaster. So
it was like this big. It was a huge tree.
Yeah. And I love the additions that you brought to us, kick-ass list and emergency. You know, I think it's interesting because the words that we use have so much power. And so when we can acknowledge that, when we can really shape that, and you were searching for a good word to express, you know, the things that you're looking to shift, you know, your challenges, whatever is challenging you, because we have to remember, we're never going to really get rid of these things. The shadow part, if we remember that yin and yang kind of idea, the black and the white, and then the white in the middle and the black in the middle of the white, it's all integrated. And it's those things, those imperfections that make us so unique, and they make up the fabric of who we are. And it makes life exciting. I mean, if we were all the same and we were all doing the same things, moving in the same direction, getting everything perfect all the time, we would be bored out of our minds, and it would, you know, there would be nothing really to do. We'd just look at each other and it'd all be the same. So, you know, thank the universe, the gods, all things for that, right? And so when we look at that in a way that, okay, so these are my tendencies. I tend to procrastinate. Now let me take active measures to pull myself out of that. And let me now, I see my procrastination. I acknowledge you. All right, but don't sit down for tea. Let's not go on a long walk on the beach, right? Let's just, you know, I see you, and now I know how to overcome, and we'll continue to move on. I like that gave some giggles there. All right, thanks, Patricia. We love you lots. There were some good things in the chat there that I was looking at. I don't remember where it was, but there were some good things there. You can look back. Lynn, please share with us.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Okay, a couple of these, like I've missed a few nights because well, for me it's like 20 to 2 in the morning. So
Right.
I just can't always make it. And I was so tired. So I have a bit like you, Patricia, I've missed being here. I'm borrowing, I really want to borrow that idea of the kick-ass list too.
Right.
It's so powerful. That's really powerful. That's definitely a thing from now on. And I'll tell you what's at the top of it's dishes. I've been procrastinating about doing a mug. You know, it's like I've been scared to get the first one done. So I drew up a design that was about procrastination, and I made that into my first mug.
I love it. Wow. That's great. Look at that.
Yeah.
I love it because it's so relatable, right? Everyone's
Exactly.
going
It was like, it's kind of like a meta thing. It's like,
so great.
yeah. So it's done. I've made it. It's sorted now. It's like, oh, what a huge hurdle.
Fantastic. Wow, that's great, Lynn. Thanks so much for sharing. And thanks for being up with us in the middle of the night. That's so brave. We acknowledge you for that for sure. Cynthia, let's hear from you. There we go.
Hello, everybody. Good to see you all and hear from you all. Well, I'm kind of on the other side of this because I was raised in an entrepreneurial home, and my earliest memories are us little kids sitting around the breakfast table with mom and dad very early in the morning, and they went over the list of what had to be done today. And it was a prioritized list. And then I've carried that through my life and in my work and all applications, but not to boast, because the other side of that is we have to buy ourselves grace, I call it. And that is, I have my list, no sub lists, because sub lists are really what goes with whatever else was on the list by it or with it. And it just becomes overwhelming. But to Michael's dad's point, I don't do it the last thing at night. I have to do it when I complete my day of work. And the reason why is otherwise I cannot go to sleep because my brain has to have this wind down time. I have to continue to let go of that because it's too much for that late in the day for me. So I cut it off at the end of my work day, whatever time that is. And these days I have a little different work schedule than most people. But the other thing is I learned over the time, I have to have a real reward for myself along the way for those really frog moment places. It might be one big frog and it might be, 3 little frogs on the top of the list. So I have to have a place where it's like John talks about and you talk about, the wins, right? And recognizing my wins in the frogs, because otherwise those other frogs keep croaking over there on the side. So I have to acknowledge those as I go down my list in the day. And the other thing that I have to give myself grace for is those things that come up in the day that I have no control of, things that come out of nowhere. And I just have to deal with them. We all have those things. And there was a point in my adult life where it was like I almost beat myself up for, oh no, I should be able to pick up the pace or make up for those times where there were things out of my control because I live by my list. So there's a happy medium in all of this.
Right.
I do like Patricia. I have my priority. I love her kick-ass. Number 2 for me, but number 1 is my high priority. The thing that I do is I prioritize my list, and my list is only 5 because otherwise it becomes overwhelming to me. But I prioritize my list, like she mentioned too. The biggest thing I'm learning and still continue to have to apply is the fact that not all of them are number 1s, nor are all of them. I have 3 in my list. So high priority, Patricia's kick-ass, and those that usually are based on time. They're something that, these other things because of time need to be taken care of before, or something relevant to importance. So it's easy to either go all 1s for me or all 3s for some, and that's not realistic either. So for me, there's got to be a lot of grace in this list process because it can be self-defeating on the opposite side of procrastination. So I just encourage us all, yes, do this. It makes us feel so good. And we actually are much more productive in life. And I've seen those times where I haven't either had a list because of stuff going on. To everybody's point, things come up and sometimes there's days and weeks. And it's that nagging thing once it becomes a habit, just like a priority, but just like procrastination, it can be a nagging thing. But I have to keep balance in my list. So.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. And I think it's really good to acknowledge that there can be a tip of that, if we go too extreme, like we were talking about at the beginning, if the lists are too long or we're really hammering down on ourselves for not completing or whatever, then we're defeating the purpose. So it definitely is the tone of how we're approaching it. And I'll even go as further and say, we also want to have space in our day to allow the magic to come to us. We don't want to imagine, because we really are not, imagine that we have all this imaginary control over how everything is going to unfold in our day. And then, when things don't go exactly as we plan, then we're like, oh my goodness, because that is an illusion as well. We don't really control how our day is going to go. We can control how we react in the moment. We can control how we're feeling in the moment. We can choose the way that we approach things, but we can't control, not the weather and not the occurrences. So that's a great point to bring out as well, to say we're not going to one extreme or the other. We're looking for that balanced medium to navigate life. All right, we're almost at time. So Jem and Britton, I hope I'm saying that right, and we will wrap it up. Jem, how are you today?
Okay, so sorry, I'm waiting on a meeting with a client. So very quickly, I think it's a very important thing because John always says his best four-letter words is done. So, and we're not gonna get paid until things are done. We have to remember the reason, and I think that's how you started. The reason why we procrastinate, it's because it weighs heavy on us and whatnot. But the important thing is always tie it back to our goal, which is tied to our vision, ultimately ties up to our purpose. It's something that is much bigger than ourselves. And what did Alex Gray say? He said that people that succeed, it's because they consistently do things that failures don't want to do, don't like to do. So that's how we separate ourselves from others, because we have a higher capacity. We're working towards a bigger goal. Even Earl Nightingale said that its success is a progressive realization of a worthy ideal. So what is our ideal? That's our purpose. So if we can keep reminding ourselves that we're not doing it for ourselves, but we're doing it to ultimately get to our purpose, it could be whatever it is that's between us and God. So I think if we can remember that will certainly say, you know what, okay, maybe I can just put my head into it because I'm not really doing it for me, but I'm doing it for a higher purpose. That might be able to help us. And then lastly, what I would say is that if we visualize our day or visualize our week and say, okay, what would move the needle today or this week? And then let me just focus on those. Forget about everything else, but let me focus on the activities that will actually move the needle. So that hopefully that helps.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. That's a beautiful share. Brighton or Britton, I'm not exactly sure.
It's Britton. You were close.
Britton? Okay, I got it good though. Okay.
I really enjoyed this topic today because it really has hit home for me. This is something that I've been trying this week, is as far as like making lists. People talk about procrastination, but part of that is if we're not writing it down and actually visually seeing it in front of us, sometimes our minds can make the task or whatever it is that we're trying to accomplish seem so much more overwhelming. And if we have it written down and we can visually see it, there's something about that makes tackling it, for me at least, a little bit easier. And then, like you said, that sense of accomplishment when you're like crossing it off, that, okay, that this huge thing that I thought was like so overwhelming ended up not being as bad as I thought it was, because, you know, I'm able to actually see it differently, write it down, you know, do it, cross it off. And it just, there's something about that that makes it better. And it makes you more productive. I have found, like, just doing it the last couple of days, I've just been doing this, I am much more productive in my day. And then I'm actually more like creative and more like energetic. I don't know what it is about it. It's awesome. So thank you for bringing this up.
I love that. I love that. And I love that you also brought into our conversation the idea that we make it so much more than it actually is. And we see that time and time again in our life. You know, we think that something is going to take us forever. It's going to be so excruciating, or how are we going to make this decision? Then when we actually do it, it's like, oh, okay, I've seen this before. I know how this works, but we're good. And so even acknowledging that that can be what is keeping us from getting it done, you know, that's a great tool for self-help. This was a fantastic conversation. I love how many people kind of felt compelled to share and are working through this. And that's really inspiring. And it's really what these conversations are all about. I love being here with you, and I look forward to seeing you here tomorrow as well. On Thursday, fantastic. We'll see you here tomorrow. Thanks for everyone joining and sharing, and I'll see you tomorrow.